Hi everything!
Hi, annyeonghaseyo. I am Muhammad Shahrinazi bin Zulkifli.
Hi, I am Nur Izzatul Ain binti Abdul Malik.
My name is Muhammad Fahmi bin Muhammad Sulaiman.
Hi, my name is Nurul Ain binti Azizan.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Sahila binti Muhammad Azhar.
And hi, my name is Muhammad Jahri Arif Nimazlan, and today we are going to talk about video games sales. So, let's go!
Diskriminasi menjatuhkan aku, reputasi kini menjadi bisu.
For the introduction, background of study, a video game is an electronic game that involves interaction with a user interface to generate visual feedback on a 2 or 3 dimensional video display devices such as a touchscreen, virtual reality headset, or monitor or TV set. Video games are developed and released on one or more platforms and may not be available on others. The importance of the video game industry has been increasing since 2010. The purpose of this study is to show which countries' sales contribute and affect the gross domestic product (GDP) of total worldwide sales. The study focuses on 150 of video games and data about the video game sales. It is expected that the number of sales of video games will be increasing.
Data description. In this study, we have 3 independent variables and 1 dependent variable. For independent variables, we have NA sales stand for sales in North America in millions, EU sales stand for sales in Europe in millions, JP sales stand for sales in Japan, and for our dependent variable, global sales stand for total worldwide sales.
For the problem statement, the video game industry is the economic sector involved with the worldwide development, marketing, and sales of the video games. In 2007, the game industry earned about $41.9 billion in revenue. This number is expected to grow with 9.1% annually to $48.9 billion in 2011 and $68 billion in 2012, making it the fastest growing component of the international media sector. In the US, the game industry is already worth more than the music and movie industry combined. Despite how successful the industry has become, it is not guaranteed that all the games will be commercial success. Certain games are plagued with such high development costs that they have to sell over millions units to break an even. Oftentimes, developers will have deadlines or budgetary constraints that they need to meet, which leads to many games being released before they are completely finished, which could greatly affect sales. The data collected will be of the European market, and therefore the predictions will only be meaningful in this region, as broadening the scope will require a thorough analysis of cultural differences.
We will discuss about research objective. In this study, we focus on 3 points. First, to construct the best regression model. Second, to determine the relationship between country sales towards the worldwide sales. Third, to check the accuracy of the model.
Okay, now for research hypothesis. Number 1 is USA will be the main factor for the GDP of total worldwide sales. Number 2 is there is a significant difference between country sales and worldwide sales. And number 3 is there is an outlier or multicollinearity in the model.
Next, let's move on to the significance of the study. This study will give benefits to many groups. For example, world games market. Research of determine the relationship between country sales towards the worldwide sales games can help the world games market to estimate the revenues based on the sales from different countries. This market also can make a source of estimate of other country in selling their video games. This study also helped third party in games item market with the gaming subscriptions such as Google Stadia or Apple Arcade. The reason why gamers should to subscribe the items is to make sure the process for playing the online games becomes smoother and easier. Next, this study also give a benefits to researcher as a body of knowledge. Other researcher can use as a reference to their study and improve the methods of solving the problem. The coming researcher can improve this study will do more objective so that other party or community will get more benefits. Next, let's focus on scope and limitation. The data are obtained from Kaggle website. This website allows users to find and publish data sets, explore and build models in a web based on data science environment. The research covers the entity world data about video game sales.
Multiple linear regression. Multiple regression model is a regression model with a single dependent variable and more than one independent variable. yi equal to beta node plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 plus beta I xi plus error I. The objective of using multiple linear regression is to test whether the estimated beta node, beta 1 and beta 2 are statistically by using t-test. Assumptions of multiple linear regression. There is a linear relationship between the dependent variables and each predictor. The predictors are independent, not too highly correlated with each other. yi observations are selected independently and randomly from the population. The error terms are normally distributed with mean equal to 0. The error variance are constant, and the last one is the error terms are independent. Evaluating the model. Standard error of the estimation. The smaller the standard error of the estimated, the better the model. Second, testing the validity of the regression model. Before making the inference or use model for forecasting, the validity of the model should be tested. Testing the validity of the model F test for regression relation. So this is the test. The next one is testing the significance of each of the following independent variables. Coefficients of multiple determinations and the adjusted coefficients of multiple determination. R square equal to SSR over SSTO or 1 minus SSE over SSTO. R square can also be interpreted as the proportion reductions of the total variation in Y associated with the use of the set of X variables X1, X2 and Xp minus 1. Modified measure be used that adjusted the number of X variable in the model. So this is the model. The adjusted coefficient of multiple determination may become smaller when another X variable is added into the model, because any decrease in SSE may be offset by the loss of the degree of freedom in the denominator n minus p. This is the model adequacy checking. The assumption of general linear regression model that need to be checked is as below. First, linear relationship between explanatory variable x and response variable y. Second, normality of error term. Third, constancy of error variance. Fourth, independence of error with presence of outlier. Next, transformation, and the last one is selections of variable. Linear relationship between dependent and independent variable. To check the assumption of linearity between dependent variable and independent variable, the scatter plot matrix of the data can be used. Another point to present the scatter plot is present the scatter plot in the upper triangular part of plot matrix and mention the corresponding correlation coefficient in the lower triangular part of the matrix. Suppose there are only two independent variables and the model is, then the scatter plot y equal to x1 beta 1 and x plus x2 beta 2 plus error matrix looks like as follows. This is the graph. Such arrangement helps in examining of plot and corresponding correlation coefficient together. The pairwise correlation coefficient should always be interpreted in conjunction with the corresponding scatter plot because the correlation coefficient measures only the linear relationship and non-robust. Its value can be substantially influenced by one or two observations in the data. Normality error terms. Error terms should be normally distributed in order to make a good prediction, but it is not likely to be true for large samples. Constancy of error variance, homoscedasticity. The assumption of homoscedasticity means that the error variance is constant, where it describes a situation where the error term is the same across all independent variables. Heteroscedasticity is the violations of homoscedasticity, where the error variance is not constant. Homoscedasticity can be measured by using plot of residual against predicted values, plot of residual against predicted variables, and scatter plot. This is the independent of error terms. The purpose is to see whether there is any correlation between the error terms over time. To get more accurate result, the Duby-Watson statistic is applied. If value of statistic is between 1.5 and 2.5, it can be assumed that the error terms are independent. Presence of outlier. Outliers are extreme values which can affect the coefficients of the regression line. Residual outliers can be identified by plotting the explanatory variable against predicted variable as well as the box plot and stem and leaf plots. Next one is transformation. In regression, a transformation to achieve linearity is a special kind of nonlinear transformation. It is a nonlinear transformation that increases the linear relationship between two variables. There are two types of transformation, which are transformation for linear relationship and transformation for nonlinear relationship. Table below gives some example of transformation, the regression equation, and the predicted value. Next one is selection of predictor variable. For R2B or SSEB criterion, the formula is R2B equal to 1 minus SSEB equal over SSTO. Second one is MSEP. Third one, Melo-CP criterion. And the fourth, Press-B criterion.
Result. You can see the result output descriptive data. The table shows the highest mean for the variable that affect the cell NS cell with 5.70 at 9, which mean the NS cell are giving the biggest impact on the global cell. The lowest mean for the variable that affect the global cell is JP cells. The pie chart show the general data. Alright. Computing parameter using ordinary least square method. You also can call it OLS. In regression model, it is important to estimate the parameter accurately. For the data obtained, we regress using the ordinary least square method, and the following estimate model is produced. The parameter value can be observed from the coefficient table in the understandardized coefficient as we consider the constant value. The estimate model you can see from the output SPSS, where Y equal global cell, X1 equal JP cell, X2 equal EU cell, X3 equal NS cells. Testing the validity of the model. Once the parameter has been obtained, it is crucial to test for the significance of the model. This is to check whether or not the model obtained above is valid for the data. From the analysis of variance table, it is observed that the p-value is 0.000. You can see the table ANOVA from output SPSS, where H0 is B1 equal B2 equal B3 equal 0. each one at least one of the p not equal to 0. The value of alpha used is 0.05, since the value of the p value less than equal to alpha, so we can conclude the model is valid for this data. Testing significance of each parameter. After testing the validity of the model, the significance of each parameter has to be tested. This step is important as the regress whether the variable is significant in itself. In testing the significance of each parameter, the p-value from the coefficient table is observed and summarized as follows. The output from SPSS. From the table, we can consider all variable is significant since the p-value is lower than alpha. Checking the fitness of the models. Fitness of the model towards the data was checked by observing the R-square and adjusted R-square from the table. The R-square is the coefficient of determination where it explains the percentage of variation by all the explanatory variables. On the other hand, the adjusted R-square also explains the percent of variation explained by predictor, but it considers the degree of freedom. So you can look the model summary from output SPSS, where value of R is 0.992, value of R square is 0.985, and value of adjusted R square is 0.985. So it is highly fit respectively. This is because it takes into account the degree of freedom. Since the x value is 0.985, we can conclude about 98.5% of total variation of the cell is explained by NA cell, JP cell, and EU cell. Observing strength of relationship between NA cell, JP cell, and EU cell. To compute between the strength of relationship between variables, the coefficient of correlation is being observed. This value is obtained from the model summary table. Since R's value is 0.992, we can conclude that there is strong positive relationship in NA cell, JP cell, and EU cell. We have 5 model adequacy checking. First, linearity between numeric score and predictors. Second, normality of error terms. Third, error variance constant. 4. Auto serial correlation. 5. Multi-collinearity.
Presence of outliers. From the Cook's graph, it shows there are several observations are considered to be an outlier, such as observation number 18. It because these points are higher than the leverage line. From this outlier and leverage graph, it shows that 5 observations out of 150 could be influential cases. Outlier Y. By using SRE and SR that we get from SPSS output, there are half observation greater than 3 SE, so exists outlying Y. Outlying X. By using leverage value, which is HII greater than 2P over N, we will get HII greater than 0.12. There are several observations are greater than 0.12, such as observation number 1, 2, 5, 6, and 10. So, there are leverage outlying X. For the F-fit value, it is greater than 0.3266. From the outlying that we found, there are no observations the F-fits are more than 0.3266. For the F-betas, it is greater than 0.1633. From the outlying that we found, there are no observations the F betas are more than 0.1633. In Cook distance, it is greater than 0.3288. From the SPSS result, there are no observations for Cook's distance are more than 0.3288. Therefore, there are no influential cases in this data and there is no need to remove the data. Determine the best variable to be included in the model by using stepwise regression methods. All models that we tested are proof that R value is strong positive relationship. R squared and R adjusted squared are highly fit, which means all the models are being explained by independent variable each model. For ANOVA method, when all independent variables put into the model are proved to be significant since the p-value are less than alpha, which is 0.05. This is after which using stepwise method to prove the model is significant or not. Test whether the model is significant to the study is conducted. Since the F-count equal to 3187.128 is higher than F value, therefore there is enough evidence to conclude that the model is significant to the study. In conclusion, the data is not normal. There is no autocorrelation and no multicollinearity. Influential cases also not present in the data. Hence, there is no need to remove the data. In order to determine the best model, it is finally confirmed that all variables are significant and most suitable to be included in the model. Finally, our model is y hat equals 0.310 plus 0.877x1 plus 1.213x2 plus 1.041x3. One of the recommendations that can be applied is increasing the sample size. When the data have a higher sample size, the likelihood of encountering type 1 and type 2 errors occurring reduces, at least if other parts of the study is carefully constructed and problem avoided. Higher sample size allows to increase the significance level of the findings, since the confidence of the result are likely to increase with a higher sample size. This is to be expected because the larger the sample size, the more accurately it is expected to mirror the behavior of the whole group.